This is Karen Lee Popper with Black River Technical College. Let me give you some best practices for working with the Moodle Gradebook during the semester. First of all, you must have your gradebook set up by day 1 of the semester, which means you need to have the entire class prepared, created, all of your assignments created in the right location and arranged correctly in the gradebook. The reason is it's very difficult to keep up with keeping your grades current if your gradebook is not completely set up, and often instructors do their best to keep the grades accurate and current in the class, but they're unable to because the class isn't set up for them in the gradebook. So they tend to lag behind, and then students don't know where they're at. Secondly, students' grades must always be accurate and current. Now, there will be many instances when you're actually still grading an item, and we'll address that in a second. But in general, if there's an item that doesn't have a grade in it for the student, then that item needs to be hidden. Only items with grades in them are available to students. Also, make sure that you back up your class monthly. Let me give you an example here. In this class, notice that there are many forums, but all of them are hidden right now except for 2. Now, these are the 2 that have grades in them that the instructor will be using for the course. The rest of them the students are interacting on and they're working on, but the instructor has either not graded the forums yet, the forums are still being worked on, or the instructor is not including those forums in a grade. For example, in my literature classes, which this is an example of, I have a forum for every single work that we study. Students are required to interact on those forums just as if they were getting a grade, but I only grade 7 of the many forums that I have throughout the semester, and they're random. And the reason for that is so that I'm not killing myself grading, but students are still interacting and doing the discussion and learning. Let's talk about managing the gradebook during the semester. First of all, like I mentioned, you need to hide all of the grade items that are not graded until you're finished grading them. So let's say you're working on essay number 1. You need to have essay number 1 hidden from the students in the gradebook until you have all of the grades for all of the students completed and input into Moodle, including the zeros for the students who don't have a grade or who didn't turn something in, as well as the students who actually have a grade. The papers need to be returned to the students, and all of that needs to be done before you make your grades available to the students. What this will do is it's going to alleviate student frustration in seeing a grade item out there that they don't have a grade for. It will also reduce the number of questions you have about when students' grades will be ready. Another very important thing that you need to do is post a message to the news forum after you've completed the grading and made the grade item available to students. And it's correct too, by the way. The reason that you do this is this also keeps your students from getting all stressed out on you, and it also keeps you from getting a whole lot of questions. Always post an announcement on the news forum when I'm finished grading with an item. When I'm done grading with something, I'll post a message here on the forum, something like that. That way students know that you're still grading until you post that message. And when you post that message, they know 2 things. Number 1, they know that they'll be able to go to their gradebook to see what their grade for that item is and how it affected their overall course grade. Plus, they know that you have given them their feedback and their papers back. Right here is a news forum. Sometimes you might want to change that to announcements, important announcements, announcements by Miss Lee Popper, whatever you want to call it. You can change the name of that. Students cannot reply to you, but when you post a message on this news forum, not only does a message show up here in the classroom, but it is also emailed out to every student in the classroom. So what you're doing is you're sending one message, but it's going to every single person in 2 different ways. Also, if you are doing a situation where you're only grading a certain amount of items throughout the semester, for example, I'm giving you this example of grading 7 forums throughout the semester, and in my classes I'll grade 4 forums before midterm and 3 forums randomly after midterm. But you need to go through and give them feedback on 1 or 2 of the forums just a few weeks into the class. Notice here I said grade 1 or 2 forums by around week 4 or 5. And what that does is students are now getting a grade in that category that you have the forum set up, or in your total points. And they're also getting feedback on those assignments, so they better know how to write correctly for you or interact correctly or submit the assignment. So you're giving them feedback as far as a grade and their quality of work, but also the process. And a lot of students are very nervous about the process. So if you use this on campus, make sure that if you're only grading certain items, that you even hide those items from the students so that they aren't seeing them until it's time for that to have a grade. What this also does is it helps students realize what their progress is in the class. And that's the whole reason many of you on campus are using the Moodle Gradebook, so that students can have an accurate view of their course grades throughout the whole semester and as assignments are turned in. So again, make sure to have all of your assignments that don't have grades hidden from the students. Only make those items available after all of the zeros have been added and all the other grades have been added to that assignment. And post a message on the news forum so that students know that they can now view their grades in the gradebook, and they can now see how that item has affected their overall grade.